All right. Well, welcome to our podcast today. I'm Andrew Bodden with Farms.com, and this is our ag tech our first interview for this year. And I'm with Patrick McMillan from Landwise Analytica, which is kind of pretty interesting technology that they've come up with. Really. Crossing a lot of different parts of agriculture, really trying to help out from the farmer to the real estate to the insurance companies, all different things like that. And we're going to go just a little bit more detail on that, but it's pretty exciting what Patrick and his team have come up with. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm currently a final year PhD candidate at the University of Guelph in Ontario. And what I'm studying is kind of the applications of statistics, machine learning, and AI into agriculture. And so that's really where the idea for the company kind of came about. Me and another PhD student, Amin, one of my other co-founders, he had this idea about taking all the data that's available, or at least a lot of it, and turning it into some kind of actionable insights for farmers, real estate agents, crop insurers. And so largely the project was kind of born out of the research that we were doing at the University of Guelph.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit more. So you've got a lot of different data. So tell us about the data points, what you've put together, and how that all kind of integrates in one.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this day and age, there's really the issue of having too much data, right? We're no longer constrained by not enough. It's now there's too much of it, and a lot of it is actually just kind of noise. And so the issue becomes how do you sift through all of the information to only extract what's really useful to your end goal? And so if we want to use the example of trying to estimate yields at a farm, well, you need a lot of information about the soil, the climate, the landscape. Satellite imagery helps a lot. It'd be great if you could get information on management techniques and things like that. But that data is really hard to get, actually. So that's one of the areas where we don't have a lot of data in terms of what fertilizer are they using, when are they using it, what type of cultivars are they growing for the individual crop that they're growing. So um, a lot of the information is available, but there are bits and pieces that still aren't.
Okay, so when you talk about kind of all the data that you're gathering together, what's the purpose of this? Who's going to find the best benefit of it? I saw some of your reporting. Tell us a little bit about what detail people are getting from that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of this data, as I said, is available. Everybody can kind of access it if they have the know-how. That kind of becomes an issue when people don't have the know-how, right? A lot of people don't know how to get large-scale climate data downloaded off of places like Google Earth Engine or other GIS software. So kind of what the goal of the company is to make this data more accessible to people who want to use it. And we offer that for free, right? We don't charge for any freely available information. We just make it easier to access for people who are interested in it. And we provide it at the individual field level. So if you're a farmer or you're a realtor looking at a plot of land, we can give you field level analytics on first and last frost dates, average rainfall for the area. You can look back a decade in time and see, how much has it rained on each day throughout the growing season. So it's quite a bit of information, and we're just trying to make it more readily accessible, easier to access, and really just trying to put it in the hands of the people who would likely use it. And so the idea behind the company in terms of what we provide is not just uh, making the data more accessible. We actually also use this data with the proprietary AI algorithms that we've developed through our PhD work, and we can estimate things like the historic yield of a farm. So if you're interested in potentially buying a farm, you could pull up our report and we could say, over the past 10 years, this farm has grown these crops in these locations across the fields, and these are what we estimate the yields to have been historically. We can then also translate this into estimating how other crops would have performed at this farm at each of the individual fields. So we can give you a heat map of yields for our anticipated yields for each of the major commodity crops. So if you're buying primarily a corn farm, but you're more of a soybean farmer, we can give you an estimate of how soybeans going to perform across the individual fields that you're looking at. And so what we can do with this information is also extend it into the future. So under anticipated climate change scenarios, we can say, well, for this individual farm, in the next 30 years, it's actually going to be a little bit less suitable for canola than it will be for barley. So if you're a farmer looking to grow long-term canola, it may not be the best farm for your needs. And so that's kind of the gist behind what our reports are able to offer for people.
So I can definitely see lots of benefit there. Lots of different ones are there. Not only for someone who's buying the land to get an understanding of what the potential is and really get a valuation of it. Uh, Definitely helping farmers on how to maybe plan down the road on rotations and stuff like that. Um, and but tell me a little bit about the insurance side of things and how that's beneficial as well.
Absolutely, yeah. The insurance space has been a really interesting one. We kind of thought, these large scale insurance companies wouldn't really be interested in working with a small scale startup. But it seems a lot of them are actually looking for ways to innovate, looking for ways to get more useful information about the farms, what they're growing, how they're performing, and how this is all relative to other farmers in the area. So one of the projects that we're looking at doing with one of the crop insurance companies in Canada is trying to provide crop specific risk scores for each individual farmer because we can estimate the suitability for each of the major commodity crops. We can say, well, for this individual farm, it's actually a little bit more risky to grow corn than it would be for soybeans. So if they're going to grow corn, it may have to increase the premiums a little bit, but on conversely, it may decrease premiums for crops that are better suited for that land. And so right now, a lot of crop insurers are kind of just going based off of averages for an area. They can get average yields for an individual district or neighboring area for the farms and say, well, on average, we find that canola yields are, X bushels per acre. And so if you're below that level, then we anticipate that you're a bit of a riskier farmer. Perhaps your management techniques aren't the best, or maybe your just land isn't that well suited for it. But there's a lot more to it than that, and so a lot of the crop insurance companies that we talked to have been really interested in the idea of kind of diving deeper into the analytics of not just the farm that they're looking at, but also the neighboring farms. How come those farms are yielding the way that they do? Is it management technique? Is it just better soil? Is it the land's flatter? They just kind of want a bit more information into the decisions that they're making in terms of how risky it is to insure an individual farm.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You talked about that all that's a lot of that information is all free. There's obviously a paid portion of this. You can't make everything for free. Tell me about what the difference is between those two and what the benefits are.
Yeah, absolutely. So the free version would primarily entail things like climate, soil, landscape information. So a lot of just looking at what does the land contain in terms of average soil content, uh, uh, soil, sand percentages, clay percentages, the classification of the soil, things like that. That's what a lot of people currently make their decision on. And the quality of farmland is largely based on soil. But I think everybody, at least in the agricultural space, kind of knows there's more to it than that. Soil is largely the driving factor behind yields and yields potential, but actually understanding how the farm has been yielding is kind of more useful information. At least that's what we've been getting from the realtors that we've been talking to. And so the free version includes the traditional soil, climate, landscape data for the farm, and then the paid version would include our historical yield estimates that we can provide using our AI algorithms that we've developed. So that kind of goes back to, well, the soil tells you the yield potential, but here's what has actually been happening.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. So again, it goes back to practices more than anything else, but still gives a very clear picture on kind of the valuation of the land you're farming, so or going to buy or going to insure and all that stuff. Awesome. So you've got this. You're up and alive now. People can use this at any time. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, our website's up and running. We're currently doing a pilot program with a select number of realtors, crop insurance companies, and farmers. So people are actively using the site, pulling reports, and the reports generate in about 5 minutes or so for any plot of land right now across Canada and the US. We're hoping to expand this into select countries in the future. And then from there, potentially globally, it kind of becomes a data issue once you get outside of North America. North America has we're blessed with great data sets of all the climate, soil, landscape. Other places, especially developing countries, less so. So right now, it only works for Canada and the US, um, but that works for existing farmland, but also land that hasn't actually been used previously for farming. We, of course, can't estimate what the yields have been historically since there were no crops grown there, but we can estimate if you were to start farming this land what crops might be most suitable for it and what kind of yields could you perhaps expect from that.
Perfect. Um, Anything else that I missed? Anything else that we should cover?
I don't think so. I think that really covered the majority of the company.
Okay, that's great. So if someone wants to get test it out and see how it works for their farm and what kind of information they can go, what's the website? How do they get there? And what's the process?
Yeah, absolutely. The website is landwiseanalytica.ca, and I'd like to think that the process for getting a report is hopefully fairly user friendly. That is one of the things that we're looking for feedback during our pilot program. But right now, you can simply go onto the website, type in an address that you're interested in, a near township or road intersection or anything near the farm. And then the software has you do is simply just select the field that you're interested in. You just draw a box around it or whatever shape it is. And then you just go through the process of confirming if that's the field that you want. And then you can pull up the report in about 5 minutes for that.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, and we'll make sure that this gets up on our website. If people have any information or any questions, they can reach out to you, and hopefully we'll get a lot of interest that way. Thanks for your time, Patrick. Really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, Andrew. Thanks again.